Okay there viewers, and welcome to Chapter 2, Cost Centers and Cost Behaviour. We're going to go through Chapter 2 now, on the introduction of costing. So let's see the objectives. We're following Osborne books. So the objectives for today, we're going to look at cost, profit and investment centers. We're going to look at purposes of having these cost centers. We're going to look at coding, and we're going to look at cost behaviour, variable, fixed costs, etc., etc. Okay, cost centers. Cost centers are sections of organisations to which costs are charged. In other words, are collected. Some people might get confused with costs and charge because they might see them as the kind of same thing, but yeah, you can get used to it. So you've got departments, HR, finance, IT departments in normal organisations. In like a school, you might have like a science department, a maths department. Some costs will be greater for certain departments than others, such as a maths department will have less cost than maybe a PE department because they've got lots of sports equipment, whereas a science department also got loads of equipment and technicians, etc., etc. Business units. So business units can be so a company could have different business units. For example, RBS has separate units, such as NatWest is a individual business unit which is part of the RBS group. There's other companies that are organised like that as well. An individual shop, so each shop, for example, Next has loads of individual shops. Each shop is different, and each one could be treated as a cost centre, basically. A ward of a hospital, so each ward of a hospital, like the maternity ward, might have its own kind of HR, finance department, etc., or it could be treated as a department in itself. That's a ward of a hospital could be one such cost centre. A manager or supervisor will be responsible for each cost centre. So basically a cost centre is somewhere where you can collect costs, and costs can be any type of costs such as wages and salaries. It can be materials, anything like that. Cost analysis. The cost can be collected in the cost centre, e.g. wages and salaries. This can be analysed to plan for the future, make decisions and control costs. Sources of information: payroll schedules, bills, purchase orders and invoices. Profit centre. So a profit centre is a centre to which income and costs can be charged. So an example here would be schools. Schools have income and costs associated with it, and the local authority normally distributes income, so does the Education Funding Authority, and then you've got costs that the school incurs, such as teaching costs, of like school materials, books, etc., etc., like that. Investment centres. They've also got they can also make capital investments. So for example, the investment centre with schools would be the local authority, whereas with academies they have access to their own capital funding, so they can make investments into new buildings themselves, maybe invest in like a school bus or something like that, whereas a school doesn't have access to the capital. So that's kind of the difference between schools and academies, simplified in terms of finance, and finance is the main difference actually between schools and academies, really. Coding. Codes are used in the accounting system to post to cost centres where there are different types. So basically codes are used as kind of a shortcut to cost centres. So you might have like the women's wear department as WMW, and then you might have it numbered as like 100 for tops, 200 for bottoms, or whatever the costing system. This is quite a simplified version of a costing system, but or you can have completely numbered cost centres, or just letters, or a mixture of the both. So it depends on your company what they prefer. Like the school that I work for, they only use numbers. So clothes fashion. So this is a simple cost centre. Obviously You got menswear, womenswear, and children's wear, and then you've got tops as 100, bottoms as 200, and shoes as 300. Now the company could choose a whole range of bottoms could be like 250 to 100, 300. Sorry, could be like jeans, and then 200 and between 200 and 250 could be like suit trousers or whatever. However they choose to run their cost centers, and they can have obviously these are the difference between these are 100, but it could go like into thousands, or it could go into hundreds. Like there could be like a couple of hundred rather than just 100, as we've done a difference here. So it just depends on basically the company and how they want to run their cost centers. So let's have a go at this closed fashion. You can stop the video and have a go yourself if you want. It shouldn't be too difficult. So this looks like women's wear, so we'll do WW, and then what is it, a top, so it will be 100. Here we've got bottoms, so that will be 200, and then this is obviously women's wear as well. This is obviously children's wear. It doesn't really fit into any of these categories, tops, bottoms, and shoes. Maybe you could be intelligent and say it's in between the top and the bottom, maybe 150, or your company might have a default if it's not in a top or a bottom, that it automatically defaults to 100. We're going to take that option, so it automatically defaults to 100. Okay, so let's carry on. Normally, obviously, if you had something like that in an exam, they'll tell you what to do. So this is the cost center for the school that I work in, teaching staff here, and then we've got so that's like a whole department, and these are also cost centers, so teacher salaries, teachers pensions, these are also cost centers. So you can separate the cost center however you like. So you can do it by department, or you can do it by individual ledger code, they're called. That's also a cost center. Cost behavior. Cost behavior refers to how the costs vary with changes to level and output. Some costs will stay the same no matter what, such as rent. Some costs will vary. These variable costs are normally are like raw materials, some labour if it's piece. Cost behavior refers to costs and how they vary with output. So if they vary with each output, that's called a variable cost. So every time activity or output increases, the cost increases. So if they vary directly, there's like a one-to-one relationship, then that will be a variable cost. And if there's not a one-to-one relationship and they don't vary at all, then that will be a fixed cost. If there is a relationship somewhere in between, so they vary. So if the output rises, then they vary slightly, then that is called a semi-variable relationship. So electricity is an example of that. Let's carry on. So variable costs, some examples: materials used in production, labour used per unit. So if you've got a piece unit charges, so say you pay someone like £10 a shirt to stitch a shirt, then that labour will vary directly with the number of units. Packaging materials, so when you make products, obviously the packaging will vary with each number of product that you produce. Semi-variable, labour plus bonus per production. So normally you have a fixed element of labour, and then you may have bonuses which are directly linked to production. Power for machinery, so yeah, electricity we said is normally semi-variable. You have a fixed charge and then a variable per unit. Examples of some fixed costs: you've got rent and rates, you've got insurance, you've got staff salaries, you got heating, depreciation, which is one people normally forget, the fall in the value of the fixed assets. So yeah, that's another type of fixed cost that you charge. It's not a real cost. I mean, you don't pay any money out, but it is a cost basically, because it's made up cost. That's also a fixed cost. Let's carry on. So this is an example. You got football shirts that cost £15 to make, and the rent is 100. So what is the total for 100 shirts and 500 shirts? So we'll do 100 shirts first because it's here. So 100 times 15, that's the variable cost per shirt. So then you got 1,500, which is the total variable cost. And then you got rent here. That will be the fixed cost that we're focusing on. And then the total is 2,500. So this is the total cost. That's the fixed cost, and that's the total variable cost. So have a go at 500 and then we'll have a look at them. You can stop the video if you like. Okay, this is it, 500. So 500 times 15 is 7,500. So that's total variable cost. Rent, fixed cost again. And then total is cost is 8,500. So variable cost, remember, vary directly with the number of output. Fixed cost will stay the same if you increase the output. Okay, thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next lesson.